Hello, everyone. You're welcome to another episode of the Career and Growth series by the Yakha Initiative. Today, I have somebody very, very special. She's plenty things, but I will introduce her first as a climate and energy expert. Everyone, here's my guest. Let her do the proper introduction herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on the Career and Growth series by the Yakha Initiative. My name is Ifeyinwa Nwaoyo. I'm an engineer by training, but over the last 12 years, I have now delved into energy with the most recent focus on climate. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So let's get this session started.
Okay.
So, climate and energy seems kind of abstract to a bunch of people. So,
Oops.
what exactly does this mean for our young audience?
Okay.
And also, why does it matter right now? So, just tell us about your day to day, why it's important.
Interesting. Okay, let me start out this way. I have a career background in electrical engineering. So, why did I study electrical engineering? Because I liked my cousin who was an electrical engineer, and that was how I got into the career. That was how I got into that course of study. But for all practical intents and purpose, I mean, when you get out of school, next question is, what do you do with this degree? Fortunately for me, electrical engineering had power as an option back in school. So I started to really like the power systems courses. And I had a brief stint in banking. Almost every Nigerian graduate has that 1 or 2 years where you have not found what you want, but you cannot stay at home. So you have to be busy. So you opt for banking when you read medicine or engineering. And that
Wow.
was me. But as I grew in my career, I moved away from just learning how to provide power or the business of power to cleaner power sources, what people commonly call renewable energy, right? And closely related to that is having sustainability in view because we want to have an earth that is safe for every one of us to live in. So I moved from just focusing on renewable energy alone to climate action, which are the things that we can do to ensure the sustainability of our planet and ensuring that we have low carbon alternatives for the for the availability of energy. Yeah. I hope that has broken it down somehow.
Yeah, I think that was awesome because you've actually done a good job of answering my first two questions, not just the first one. And you've taken us through your career trajectory from being interested about the fact that your cousin was an electrical engineer and then decided to study electrical engineering, moved over to banking for a short while, and then from supplying power to clean energy sources. I think that really gives us an amazing understanding of your background and what you've done so far. So, still on that, right? You have worked in different aspects in your career: utilities, energy, and development. So I would
Okay.
like you to just touch on what has been the different turning points in your journey, what has shaped that those different decisions you've had to make at different points in your life.
So I like to tell people that when you look at the life of someone you admire in hindsight, you feel like they designed their career very intentionally. But I want to say that everywhere people get to is a summation of opportunity meeting a level of preparedness.
Oh, let's not miss that. Everywhere people get to is a summation of opportunity meeting preparedness. Please continue.
Yeah. So I'm saying that just to say you don't have to figure out all of your life at once, but just showing up and showing up well enough every time opportunities arise is really what makes you look like you're the best candidate in the room. That being said, I said I had a brief stint in banking. I was a banker for 11 months. I That was the first job I ever applied for, and I got it. I was done serving. I was back in Lagos because I served in the north. And I think one of the beautiful things about the Yakha initiative is how that it's filling up the gap that youths tend to deal with when they don't know what to do with themselves, even with the best of degrees. So I graduated with a fantastic degree. I had a first class, but I didn't have the right type of mentoring. Maybe if I did, I might have said rather than banking, and it's not a bad choice, but maybe rather than banking, how about interning with an engineering company, seeing that my interest was very engineering related at the time, but I didn't know better. And the banks were more than happy to have a fresh graduate who was smart and had an engineering background on their team. But I would say it was serendipity that while I was working, the company known as Sahara Group was looking to have the biggest hiring in the power sector in the last 20 years at the time. This was 2014. So they were going to hire as many as 100 engineers. So a friend told me about it and we all applied. It was such a big application process. We were about 10,000 standing outside
Wow.
Chams in Maryland. We were
Wow.
many.
I can relate
We
with those
were
type of.
many.
I had a
Recruitments
couple
back
of
in the day
those.
were crazy.
I had a couple of those. I
Yeah.
had a couple of those, so I can
We're in
relate to
our
that
thousands. I
experience.
hear that over the number of days that the hiring went through, were about 10,000 that applied. That's what rumor says. But good thing I got in, and then I started to understand how power really gets to end users. Like by power, I mean how your electric bulb comes on. So I'm one of those few engineering graduates in Nigeria that actually got to practice. So I practiced. I was an operations engineer for the first 4 years
In
of
other
my
words, you're
career.
throwing shades at people like
I'm
us.
not throwing
But it's
shades.
fine.
So I worked as an operations engineer for 4 years. My work was to repair transformers, to monitor transformers, to make sure people get to scream up NEPA in their houses. And I did that with a lot of glee and joy. But I think when I stepped into my fourth year, I was bored and I wanted something new. Remember what I
Amazing.
said about opportunity meeting preparedness? So I started to tell friends I'm looking for something different, but in the power space. I wasn't even very sure what I wanted, to be honest. And then somebody told me, oh, there's a new power company, but they are not like NEPA. They don't centralize power. They provide power, but for factories and industries. They are looking for somebody with business development experience. I didn't know anything about business development, but a few thoughts with a friend of mine just highlighted that I had some business development experience. I just wasn't calling it that because I was knocking from door to door telling people to bring out their bills. And when they bring out their bills, I'll confirm if they have paid. And if they haven't paid, I'll negotiate what they can pay. And that was business development in some fashion. So I found a way to couch that in my CV. I had the interview and the people liked me and they hired me.
I think this is really interesting. So one thing that people don't understand when it comes to CVs or filling for roles, you don't exactly need to have done that role.
Everything on
You
the
have
JD.
transferable skills that you can move.
That's
You also
correct.
have scenarios where you have played out these things that you can actually explain in an interview situation. And I think that that's amazing.
You're right. You're right.
Please continue.
So moving from working in a centralized utility, it was the biggest distribution company in Nigeria at the time. I think it still is. To an independent power company, I was there for about 3 years plus, and again, I got bored, and I felt it's time for another move. But I wasn't sure what I wanted, but I knew I wanted something a little more senior, more mid-level, and so I started searching for roles. I updated my LinkedIn profile, and somebody slid into my DM, a lady, bless her soul, she's passed now, and she said, "We're looking for a utilities manager, and we like your profile. You've done technical and you've done commercial." And I told her, yes, I'm a techno-commercial expert.
Interesting.
And
it's good that you are calling these platforms. You talked about how recruitment happened, like large scale in front of Champs and those
yeah,
places, and now you've mentioned someone slid into your DM on LinkedIn. Please
yeah.
continue.
And then we spoke. She said, I really like you. I like that you wrote a cover letter when I didn't ask for one. So I was like, okay. So when I got into the organization, I was going to meet with the MD. The MD said, I noticed you called yourself a techno-commercial expert. What does that mean? I said, somebody who has a technical background but has learned commercial language. The man was like, who is this girl? One thing that I think is consistent is just being confident.
Mhm.
People like to see that you are confident in what you're selling them.
Very
And that's
nice.
not to say I always knew or had all that was required. I just seemed to be confident enough to sell myself. I even think a lot of my employers were just curious to really know more. So they employed
Yeah.
me to see the end of the story, not really
Yeah.
because.
I was talking to someone like this week, and one of the
Uh-huh.
things I mentioned, right, was about let's let your whether it's your CV or your cover letter, so let it be memorable
Mhm.
because people are screening through about thousands of CVs. They
Yeah.
are looking at all that, and they do it really fast. They can do it with ATS, right?
Yeah.
And they screen. But by the time they are down to like 10, and I think these 10 are nice, let me take a look at it. Something has to stand you
Stand
out.
out. Yeah.
Something has to make me say, I want to go back to this person.
Mhm.
Right? It's really, really important.
Yeah.
And so when you mention that, some people are curious to know, like, who is that girl? Like, what did
Mhm.
she say? Let her come and say it in front of us. And yeah,
On a light
honestly.
note, I remember one of my final interview in this organization that wanted a utilities manager. The MD was like, "You're speaking a lot of grammar. He just brought out an A4 paper. I want you to draw this. Show me how you would do this." Because he felt this girl has mastered the art of grammar. Show me something practical. So
Yeah.
after I worked in with that utility, I did a lot of new things there. It's important to mention that there were a lot of things I was doing for the first time, but just being dogged enough to say, you know what, I'll take the bull by the horn. Yeah. After spending 3 years there, I had my second child. I recognized that I needed a different type of role at the time. So I had worked in the private sector for about 10, 11 years, and I wanted to do something different. So I
Okay.
opted to move into development. So private sector is where you are actually doing business for a corporate or on behalf of a corporate. But in development, the stakes are different. This time, your work is impact driven, not profit driven.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I decided to go into development. I worked with Deloitte as a temporary consultant, after which I took on a more permanent role with a development organization representing one of the countries, one of the top world powers. And I served as a senior energy advisor there for a couple of months, about a year. Yeah.
Awesome. Great, great, great. So now that takes us to our next question because we would like to hear more about this. And so, can you tell us some of the most interesting initiatives or projects that you worked on and what you took out from that experience? You can tell us one or two, just something that you would really like to mention and then what you learned from it.
Okay. This is one lesson that has stuck with me, even though it happened pretty early in my career. So remember when I talked about that big recruitment where we had almost 100 engineers coming into one organization?
Yeah.
We were coming in at a time when, before then, the last recruitment of engineers in the power sector in Nigeria had happened maybe 20 years ago. So there was a wide age gap between the my colleagues who came in at the same time with me, graduate engineers, and then the next set of hires. They were in their 40s, where we were in our 20s. So there was a huge age gap,
Mm-hmm.
generational gap.
Very important.
Yes. And the method and style of thinking and the work approach was so different. When we came in, we were perceived as a threat to those who had been in the company or in the organization for longer. And so they were very wary of us. While we were young with theoretical skills, we didn't have the right type of experience to utilize what we had learned in school. So, what stood out for me was how it was necessary to stoop to conquer. Why do I put it that way? I had um, theoretical knowledge, but I had working with me technicians who had been in the field for a very long time, and their experience was going to make my technical knowledge invaluable if I would find a way to build the right relationships with them so I can learn. So there was a lot of gatekeeping because they were afraid they could lose their jobs.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, had a lot to learn from them. So we found a way to reverse engineer leadership. I would teach you what I know with the hope that you can teach me what you know as well. That way, the relationship became symbiotic. I am not here to replace you because you are valuable and I can't replace you. You have knowledge of the network that spans over 20 years. I, on the other hand, want to learn so that I can be valuable even long after you are gone. And it meant recognizing that I can't call people their first names, even though they report to me, your name is Baba Smart forever. Yes, so it was such an invaluable lesson because you're not taught those things in the four walls of a university. You
Yeah.
just have to have enough relational skills to recognize what's necessary at the time. That has stayed with me across every job that I have worked on.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is so important because it's not just for the generational difference. Even when you have people that are close in age, as soon as a new person comes into an organization, most people begin to check, okay, why is this person here? What is she
Uh-huh.
doing that I'm not doing? There's
There's a
always
lot
that
of do we
check,
measure up?
right? They just need to understand that, okay, this person has come to add value. This person, they need to just see that you are there and that
To be part of the playing team. On the
yeah,
same
so
page.
that just lets them, okay, I think
Relax.
I'll relax.
Mhm.
So it is so valuable. Like, I don't think we should take this as something for two different generations. We're going to carry it all through.
Mhm.
It is something that is so needed and so valuable. So my next question, we're going to just calm down. And who
Okay.
is Ifeyinwa outside work? Because we've been talking a lot about career work and all that. So who are you outside work?
Okay. Ifeyinwa is a lifelong learner.
Mhm.
Someone who's very passionate about breaking down subjects or matters that appear complex to easily understandable, bit-sized information. And I've seen this express itself across not only my professional side or professional life to the things I do on the voluntary front. I am passionate about children and teenagers. I love to work with young people. I I value family a whole lot. If you follow me on any other platforms, I'm sure you might have seen a thing or two that I have shared along those lines. But I'm very committed to continuously growing, continuously developing oneself, and I strive to be better at everything that I do.
Okay, amazing. That's really nice because the next question we're going to so you already shared some, especially the last thing you said before this question on soft skills that we should have. So now this question is more about what are the other soft skills that young people should begin to get into. Aside the technical, oh, I'm good at this, which we have a lot of people. This is the age where you can learn almost anything. So many people are doing great things. So, what are other soft skills that young people should cultivate as they grow and they advance in their career and life in general?
Okay. Communication is such an invaluable skill. And I didn't say the ability to talk, I said communication, which means you also need to learn to listen. The more you listen, the more you are able to best represent what the other party is thinking. We're very good at articulating ourselves as human beings and expressing ourselves compared to how well we are able to say what the other person is thinking. A good communicator is very perceptive. You strive to not just speak but also learn to actively listen. It's such a powerful skill to have. So I would say an apex communicator is one who not only knows how to speak, but you can also you can perceive and you can have a sense of what the other party is thinking, even when they are not saying it, which means you've mastered non-verbal cues. You know what their body language is saying. You will need it regardless of your work style, be it core career in the corporate or as a business person. If you are a trader, you can tell when your negotiation is going awry or when you actually have the customer where you want the customer to be. Like if you're speaking to a prospect And you can tell by just reading their body language. So an apex communicator needs to be a great listener. I'd say building relationships as well. I like to let people know that aside my maybe first job, every other job that I have actively done or worked for was as a result of my relationships. Either somebody referred me to a role or someone reached out to me and I was able to cultivate that conversation and it transitioned into an offer, or someone just said, hire this lady, she's the person you need.
Wow.
So you don't always have to carry your CVs all around. So relationships are so, so powerful. And the more you grow, this is not to water down technical skills, but the more you grow, you begin to see that credibility is the currency. People will hire people that they know have some level of referral that makes them comfortable when it gets to um, certain seniority levels. You want to be able to say, oh, she worked here for this person and he gave a vote of confidence. So beyond merit, which, I mean, this is not to undermine merit, this is to say in tandem with merit, have great relational skills as well, because you'll find doors open in seemingly unlikely places just because you're someone people enjoy or have learned to build a relationship with or are comfortable with. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So communication and great relational skills.
Okay, I think you said something else. Like it was in relation to the second one, but you said credibility. I think that is amazing.
Yeah.
That is really amazing.
Is credibility a soft skill? If you don't have character, you don't have character. If you're not credible, you're not credible.
I would not.
But I get you.
I think I agree, because when you mentioned it, it was too good.
Yeah.
It was too
Thank
good.
you.
So still on this, I would like to know, because you work in the intersection. I feel while you were talking about your other interests, you were being a bit modest, which is good. But you work in the intersection of energy, policy, or where you have work to do, and also community impact. So which of these do you enjoy the most, or find most rewarding? I know it sounds like a trick question, but we in a way want to know like what you have enjoyed so far in rewards. Yeah.
To be honest, I'll say community impact is really the end goal of every work expression I have had. So to say
Amazing.
I enjoy one over the other is to lose sight of the fact that I might not necessarily be in the direct line of interfacing with the community, but it doesn't mean my work has not impacted people directly. So one thing that I have appreciated about my career is how I can immediately see the impact to an everyday man's life, beginning from when I was serving as an operations engineer with a distribution company. Once we just heard screams of up NEPA, it felt like I was a superhero, like I just did something that mattered. And at that time, I was interfacing more with the transformers than with the end users. So I'd say the biggest part of my work that I enjoy is the impact for the end user. So whether I am interfacing directly with the end users or not, my work trickles down to making life better for people.
Amazing. So the impact to the end user is the most rewarding part that you enjoy.
I believe so.
Awesome. So now this question is more on the home front. So how has your work as a wife and a mother affected like your career trajectory and the decisions that you have made?
I think that's a really brilliant question. And something I'd like to say to women, especially women who want to build a family alongside a thriving career, is to recognize that your value system should drive the way you choose work. This is very important because most young women assume if I'm going to have a great career, then I'll probably not have a great family. Or if I'm going to have a great family, career will have to suffer. I beg to differ. If you're going to have a great life, especially with someone who wants to have family, you need to start by having a great partner. You need to have beside you someone who recognizes that your dreams are equally valid. So when it's time to take those hard decisions for the family, you're not taking them alone. You're taking them recognizing that I can take a back step now, or I can take a back seat now, so that my partner can lead the forefront of this or that aspect of our lives, knowing that it can be a switch 4 years down the line. If we see ourselves as a single unit, it's easy to make those sort of compromises. And this is speaking in a situation where there are two partners, because sometimes life happens and you're either a single mom or a single dad, and you have to be the one to make those tough decisions. Yeah. So let's go with the average expectation, which is there's a partner. So start by having a great husband or a great wife in the first place. So don't compromise on that choice. I think it's the second most important thing you do, second only to your faith. It's the second most important thing you do. You can have beautiful dreams and aspirations, but when you have a bad husband or a bad wife, they can truncate those dreams. They can make you see less of yourself. So that's the first place to start. Then, after doing that, second is to know that it's okay to trade places sometimes. I'll give you a practical example. When I started my career, I mean, I could fly, I could go anywhere, I could do anything I wanted to do. I had little or no limits. But then when I had my first child, I had to be more circumspect when I made decisions or choices. And I wasn't doing that alone. So it wasn't like, oh, I now had to suffer while my partner continued their lives. No, we did it together. By the time I was having my second child, I needed to have a complete career detour. I left the private sector. I left the private sector because I was pregnant 8 weeks, 3 days, and I didn't know, because I was commissioning a project somewhere. I was unaware that I was pregnant. That's how checked out I was. Is that to say work in the development space isn't difficult? It's equally difficult, but the kind of demands that my work was placing on me at the time made me recognize that I needed a different type of work. I needed to slow down. I needed to have a little more control over my time. So maybe some sort of consulting for starters before I go back to my day-to-day 9 to 5 role. So as women or men that want to have families that will not suffer because of our career, we should recognize that there are times when we will make those tough decisions, and it's okay. It's okay. Am I better for it today? Absolutely. Am I grateful that I, made that detour when I did? Definitely. But you can only make those kind of hard decisions when you have someone who's willing to support you through it and not make you feel like what you're doing is going to affect the whole family. It will destroy us. No, I would let her do this now because I know that she has done it for me in the past, or I'll have to do it for her in the future. It's towards a goal, recognizing that the family is a single unit. So we're not competing, it's symbiotic.
Amazing. You've given us like a mini masterclass here. Because first you said the partner that you choose, really, that is the foundation.
Yeah.
And then the second thing you have mentioned is understanding that you might need to trade places. Like the example
Absolutely.
you gave was just awesome. It was amazing. Okay, so now moving on to the next question. Every professional has challenges, right? So we would like to know what challenge you have faced, right, that has truly come to shape you into the person you have today. So I know there's several, but if you could give us pointers about one, two, that would be awesome.
That's a tough question to ask me. Challenges that I have faced. Okay. Okay. I think I've talked about one of it, and it was when I was coming into the organization, when the organization itself was undergoing an active change management.
Yeah.
It was like we were not giving enough advisory. It was like we were thrown to the dogs and we were supposed to figure it out.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that I had to do were a function of soft skills that I had and not necessarily what I was taught in school. I think a second thing that a a career person needs to prepare for is to know that merit will not always be enough. And why am I saying this? My pastor says this: there is one of this that will happen to you at least. There is one of this that will happen to you at least once in your life. And therefore, it's either you lose a loved one, or you lose your job, or you lose a large amount of money. I don't remember the fourth one, but let's focus on those three. Um, a career person, no matter how good or great they are, must know there are times when they can lose their jobs. And that comes as a rude shock, especially to people who are used to being on an upward trajectory. You're used to being the one people headhunt. So you never imagine that there can be any grand event that will make you lose your job. Well, you prepare for that. So I once lost my job, and it was so interesting because it was that when you say this is the safest job you can ever get, by all world rankings, it was the safest job possible. But then you wake up, there's a new administration, and the new administration effects into law a policy that affects over 10,000 people, you inclusive. At that point, it's not about how smart you are anymore. Everybody go home. And so 10,000 people across 128 countries are going home.
Wow.
At that point, when it's like such a grand event, it's like the Big Bang. Because it has ripple effects. It's not affecting just you, it's affecting a lot of other people. It's not affecting those people alone, it's affecting all the other places that could employ you. So it's a moment to just pause and reflect. When I had that, it was an inflection point for me. It was a point for me to ask myself, who am I really? Who am I? And if you don't prepare for moments like that, depression can get the better part of you, especially if you are such a high flyer who has defined yourself based on your career. That was a great point for me to remind myself, I am not my career and I am not my job description. I am not my job designation.
I thought that was a master class. This is another one.
You just remind yourself, I'm Ifeyinwa Nwaoyo, who can do this, can do that, who can reinvent herself.
Wow.
It was a lot of self-appraisal. I wake up in the night and I'm like, I've lost my job. I've lost my job. I've lost my job in an institution that has been around for 61 years. Why is it the year I joined that the job decided to shut down?
Wow.
But the beautiful thing about those points in your life, it's when it dawns on you that if you did it once, you can do it again.
Wow.
Because the same skills with which you did it the first time, they haven't gone away. They are inside you. So you can do it again. And it's also a reminder that no matter how high a bar we have set for ourselves, we can always outdo that bar. So when you arrive thinking, this is the best that can be for me at this point in my life, you realize that it's not as good as you thought it was.
Yeah.
There's always something better.
There is
But
always something
to
better.
come to that level of self-awareness and self-assuredness, you have to surprisingly separate yourself from your career enough to have an identity independent of that career. Yeah. So that was a huge turning point for me. It made me less afraid to rebrand and reinvent myself. That was actually how I started exploring climate more. Surprisingly.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
This is really interesting. You know what I love the most about this conversation is how we've gone in different directions. Like it's beautiful. And what you just said, merit will not always be enough. It's something to really, really think about.
Yeah.
Okay, so now
And maybe I should just say this closely related to what I just shared. As a career person who is used to always having a certain amount of cash trickle into your account month on month, when that cash doesn't come in, you better have your rainy day funds.
Thank you.
You
Thank
better
you
have
for
your
this.
rainy day funds that can sustain you for like 4 to 6 months. so that you can pause and you don't feel like, I have to take the next job I see. I have to take the next job I see, where you're not under pressure.
Yeah. I remember speaking to someone some months back, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm about to leave my job. They're frustrating." I said, "Oh, that's really, really nice." What you need to understand is this, right? If you are leaving your job, you need to be ready for what will happen after, because that is a very lonely period. It's
Very
actually
lonely.
very, very lonely. You will think, oh, I have friends. You will have friends, but it's a lonely period and you need to be ready for it. So are you ready for it? If you're ready, fine. Right. So what you said is so is so valuable. You need to have rainy day funds. You need to be ready for that experience. So we're moving to yet another phase. I like the way we are going in different directions. But now we're talking about mentorship.
Okay.
Because mentorship is an amazing tool for career growth. So we'd like you to explain to us, do you have mentors? Are you mentoring other people? And how can young people take advantage of mentoring as a tool?
Okay. Do I have mentors? Oh, yes, I do. Am I mentoring people? Yes, I am. How can young people take advantage of mentorship? I don't think the topic of mentoring is strange. I just feel the way people go about it is what is strange. Many times people expect mentors to be um, heads and shoulders above them, people they can look up to, and people that they can aspire to be like. Sometimes mentors don't necessarily take that form. It's okay for your mentors to also change with time. And it's okay for you to have different mentors at different phases. You don't have to be stuck with one person because it was the one that looked out for me when I was in my so and so 8 years ago. So he's my mentor for life. Not necessarily. Yeah. I remember when I started out in business development, so new at it. I was really inspired by the commercial manager at the organization I was working in back then, and we've remained friends till now. He's one of my career mentors. One of the times I was in a difficult situation when I worked with a real estate company. I remember I was in the office sometime before 9 p.m. I called him and I was like, Mr. Jibola, I think I've made a mistake. You need to have those kind of people who can immediately get you grounded, remind you whatever mistake you have made, you can work back from it and help you figure your way out. But let me take this opportunity to talk about peer mentoring. And peer mentoring is very important to me because I feel it is an underutilized form of mentorship. When there is somebody that you people are probably in the same line of work, have had the same number of years, but for some reason, because they haven't been there for as long as you imagine a mentor should be there for, you undermine the value that you can get from that person. I have a lot of peer mentors.
Yeah.
These are people who, by virtue of my years of experience, we seem to be within the same line of we seem to have the same experience, but I know better than to downplay their experience. I know that they are better at this and this than I am, and so I utilize their experience as much as I can. For example, when I was going to make my first career switch from engineering to business development, still in engineering, but from core operations to business development, I remember sitting down with a friend of mine, and what she did to my CV, we are both engineers, but she's better at such than I am.
Yeah.
What she did to my CV, how she prepped me for the interview. As a matter of fact, she coined the term techno-commercial. She said, tell them you are a techno-commercial expert. And this is somebody who is supposed to have the same years of experience with me, but she definitely doesn't have the same type of exposure I have. On this front, she was more exposed, and she has remained a consistent peer mentor for me. I don't make major career moves without her input or without her guidance. And there are more of them like that in my life. So I want to tell young people to take this moment to step back and look around you. There are more resources around you than you realize. So I know that we all want our mentors to be people who are board chairmen, but they're not even as accessible as you want them to be.
Time? You might
They
never
don't have
see
the
them
time.
in your lifetime.
To be honest, they are very busy. And yes, you may read their books, but it will not afford you the level of direct mentorship you may need. You have within you more peer mentors than you're taking advantage of. So, not to overflog the topic of mentorship, explore peer mentoring more. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So what we are taking away from this is explore hair mentorship more. But
Yeah.
something else, what you need to know is that we actually have another video with
Oh
her.
yeah.
We actually elaborated on mentoring. So I think you should give that, like, go look for it
Check it
and
out.
then check it out. You have more thoughts on mentorship. But thank you so much on this. Peer mentoring is it's important because many of these people that we look up to and we look I don't even know how to put it, they don't have the time. So I think someone was talking about I heard this conversation somewhere, I can't really place where it happened, and where someone was saying, oh, I wanted this lady to mentor me, I wanted like one-on-one, and she put me in a group. What do you want? You want the impact.
But that's
You
also
want
quite
something,
entitled.
right?
She put me
Which,
in a group.
yeah, many people want that one-on-one, and it's not easy
How much are you paying her?
at a point, right? So that's why many times when people do this, you go to you have this one-on-one session. This is the cost. Group mentoring, this is the cost. This is, they give you different. Why? Because time is money. If someone is giving you 1 hour of their time every week or so, treasure it for as much as you can. At a point, it will become more expensive or
That's true.
unavailable. So peer mentoring, I think it's something important that we should all look into. So now we are beginning to round up. So what will the final thing will just be, what is your biggest piece of advice to young people? Right? Because we've had, I don't even want us to go into more questions because we've had the highs, lows. This is a masterclass, honestly, because you can go back and listen to the things that we have talked about here and take actions based on the things you've said.
Mhm.
But what's your biggest piece of advice? It can be one, two, three things that you want to say to young people out there.
Hmm. Biggest piece of advice to young
Or
people,
can we use the word pieces? just tell us.
without meaning to sound cliche, I'd say that life is in phases.
Mhm.
Life is in phases, so you need to appreciate the phase that you're in, because when it ends, it ends. You can't get it back, but it comes with beautiful benefits. For example, you can't always be 14 years, but I know the hurry to want to grow up and be 22. Well, when you're 22, you can't go back to being 14. So why not enjoy being 14? That's just an arbitrary example. Um, that being said, you need to race almost like you have no time.
Mm.
While you are recognizing that life is in phases, in your different phases, there are things to do. As a young person, now is the time to dream, to learn, to absorb like a sponge, and to make your mistakes. I'm assuming that maybe the average audience here is somewhere aged 14 to 25, 27. You have ample time to dream, absorb like a sponge, explore new things, and make your mistakes, because the 30s are more for consolidation. I'm not saying you can't make mistakes in your 30s, but you don't want to be making mistakes in your 30s.
Mhm.
Yeah. You want to feel like, now I have found what I want to hone or what I want to focus on, and I am now consolidating on them. But in your 19s, 18s, 17s, 21s, 22s, you are flying. You can do 2, 3 courses. You can try new things and then begin to streamline even as you try them into 1, 2, 3 options so that you don't appear to be all over the place. But don't play it away. Don't play your 20s away. Don't play your teenhood away. That's why Yakha is so powerful, because it's giving you a sense of purpose and direction early so that you are without excuses. So don't play it away. Take advantage of this, because this is free mentoring. This is free mentoring. I said earlier that we didn't really have people to tell us, no, this is what you should be doing once you get out of the university. Well, you have Yakha telling you these are the things you can be doing before you get into the university, while you're in the university, and when you get out. Utilize platforms like this, soak in like a sponge, ask follow-up questions. Now is the time to ask all the questions, because in your late 20s, early 30s, people are going to be asking you questions. Yeah. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. You can always recover or come back from your mistakes. I think something that the human mind is capable of is resilience. We're so good at bouncing back, but we've been sold the lie that failure means you didn't do well and so you are a failure. Not necessarily. You have failed in an aspect doesn't make you a failure. It just means there's another way to do it that you now have to explore. Just like kids are trying to walk, they get up, they fall down. They don't say, you know what, walking is not for me. They don't say that. They don't say, you know what, I'm moving away from this walking thing. I'm just going to focus on crawling. No! What do? They get up and they try again and again until they have mastered the craft called walking. In that same vein, fear is a learned behavior. Stop falling and staying on the ground. Get up and try something else. Remember what I said. Everything I'm saying is in consonance. That you're trying something else doesn't mean you're all over the place. You have 1, 2, 3 things you're trying and you're keeping it at that. Because everything you're doing is in phases. There's a time to do everything. But when you try those things, if you see that it's not quite working out, don't move on too quickly. Have the staying power and the resilience to know that I failed right now doesn't mean I'm going to fail again tomorrow. You keep trying it until you've mastered what appears to be a talent and it becomes a skill, and then it becomes something people are willing to exchange value in terms of their money for your expertise. Yeah.
Wow. This was awesome.
Yeah, I feel so
I would not
too.
call that a final mode of advice. There's just so many things. And I've learned a lot sitting down, listening to you. We've had different sessions in this. As I said, this is a masterclass. I know there was a conversation that we had, though we didn't close it out.
Okay.
But I know from time to time you mentor young people. I know that window is not always open, but this is just me putting that again. At any time when it's open, we'll reach out,
Yeah, sure.
right, to see if there are people that you can.
I'll be taking in a mentoring cohort sometime in 2026. So, of course, I'll let the Yakha initiative know, and we can onboard as many young people as would want to.
As she can. And remember what we said, pair mentoring, because you don't want to overwhelm her. There are just so many things that she's doing at the same time. Like when she introduced herself, I said she was just really being modest. Honestly, she was being modest. But thank you so much. This was an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
It was really an amazing conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you guys enjoyed it, right? So next week, more and more. Keep watching, like, share, comment.
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. So thank you very much.
Alrighty.
I enjoyed the session. Bye.